I had bought these orange LEDs for the sole purpose of working on radios, and in general it's a good idea. These are 3mm size, and these are your standard 5mm size. You can see a little difference there. I like the orange. Oranges work out really great for my eyeballs. The Kenwood green is okay, but I definitely prefer the orange. It's nice and contrasty. Works out perfect for me. However, what does not work out perfectly are these LEDs. Putting them in the hole, it didn't illuminate the screen a whole bunch. I already had a suspicion that that was going to happen, because unlike incandescent bulbs, LED bulbs just shoot out of the front and not too much off to the side or to the rear. So it's not a all-encompassing illumination. It's just wherever you point the LED, essentially. And since the LED would be shining off to the side or out to the front, majority of its energy is lost and not too much goes off to the side to illuminate the screen or illuminate it fully, because we're going to have two on either side, and try to get it to shine across at least 50% each way. Not going to happen. One other thing in my testing, we found out that this board shoots out 12.45 volts of power to illuminate the bulb. The bulbs I have only take 2 volts. One other thing with these is I thought, current draw, these things would only take what it requires, nothing more, nothing less. Well, actually what I found is too much current. These things go into saturation and they go dim. It was kind of an odd thing. So I'm gonna not use these for the illumination reason, but also for power reason. These are only 2 volts. We need almost 13 volts coming out of the radio. So I'm going to need to choke it down with a resistor. I don't have a lot of room in the area here, and I would be afraid that it'd just be too bulky to get the right resistor back there. Now we already have OEM protection back there, so that tells me that they already knew that there's not a lot of room, and just in case something touches, it's covered. So now trying to stab a resistor in there, not going to happen. Where they've got, well, I was going to say where they got the plugs, they already got a hole cut out, and that's not a true statement. But tallest thing on here is this capacitor, which you really can't see that well, and then this plug right here. So not a lot of room to stand a resistor up or bend it over without doing a whole bunch of taping. Just not very conducive. A lot of time involved, blah, 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 blah. So what I did was I went out looking for miniature incandescent bulbs. Now, isn't that what your key search would be also, is miniature incandescent bulbs or even incandescent bulbs? And then what happens? You go on this big search and you're not finding exactly what you want. You're not getting that many hits because incandescent is old-timey and it's no longer in the norm. Everything's gone to this new fancy LED thing. Well, after some search, I did find a kit. In fact, I bought this kit here, which is 100 Well, it's supposed to be 100. I didn't sit and count each and every one. I honestly don't think there's 100 in there. But hey, who knows? Anyway, long story short, or short story long, I found this, and I also bought a batch of clear bulbs, and then I bought a batch of orange caps to go over the clear bulbs. Anyway, these things are not called miniature incandescent bulbs. How many of you know what these are actually called? Yeah, I didn't think so. Because incandescent is what I would have went for. In fact, that's what I did go for. Anyway, these are called grain of wheat bulbs. For real, Farina. Grain of wheat. Probably because they're about the size of a grain of wheat. I don't really know. The bulb that I pulled out of there is this guy right here. Now these are 3mm bulbs, in case you're going to replace. Like I said, these are 3mm. Definitely tell, not your standard 5. As you can see, this bulb is clear. The display is orange, as you can see in this internet found video. I was a little perplexed by that, so I took my flashlight and I shined it through the hole that you can't see on the back of this board right here, that you still can't see, to see if the light piping would be of an orange color, and it's not. It's actually white. So I was a little confused by that, because I'm pretty confident these have not been replaced, and I'm pretty confident Don, I'm a junk collector, did not replace them. So I know my lights here are bright. I'll shine this through the hole, and you can see that that is definitely not a orange color. It definitely will be a white color. So I originally bought the white ones with the rubber boots, and then I stumbled across these, and I thought, hey, this is perfect. This kit has orange, blue, red, and I do believe maybe yellow? I don't know. So it was the orange that I was after, and it's the orange that I'm going to put in here. With LEDs, these do have a positive and a negative side. The long leg being your positive side. These do not. These are, whichever leg you stick it on, the power pole is, it's going to illuminate regardless. These, as I mentioned, has a saturation issue. These did not in my test. These, 2 volts. Your working voltage is between 1.8 and 2 volts. Any more, you burn them out. These ones, I think they started illuminating around 6 volts. And I didn't go too terribly high. Accidentally, I went to about 16 volts and they still illuminated. So they have a wide range of working room, headroom. So in your next project, maybe reach for these as opposed to your LEDs. Now the LEDs, these are still going to come handy if you have forward LEDs for marking indications or idiot lights. In my Kenwood, I do have forward lights that are green, so I would definitely use the green for that. However, I really do like the orange, so I may just convert those radios to orange and then just pick up some well, I don't have to pick up orange forward lights. I got them right here. What a doofus. So that's what I might do. Alright, so we went on long enough about LEDs. Some of you already know all this stuff. Old hat for you. For some of us, we're learning. And for others, you're just now being introduced. So, what was these called again? That's right. Grain of wheat. Really don't look like 100, but who knows. I will count them. Alright, so with that said, let me fire up the soldering iron. We'll put in one light and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we got the lights in and have it turned on. And as you can see, it is extremely blinding. Yeah. Not working out the way I anticipated it to be in my brain. But the nice thing is we could see that these orange bulbs are definitely that orange. And if they worked, it would probably work out just fine. As you can see, it is dim and not exactly blinding. So I went back in with the voltometer and I checked my voltages at LED number 1 here. And what I found was my voltage reading here was right at about 5 volts. Well, that's kind of odd because when I checked them before I put the bulbs in, they were, I want to say they was greater than 14 volts or something like that. Greater than 12 at least, I do believe. So I went back to check the schematic to see if I indeed could get a voltage reading off of the schematic. The schematic is a digital download and it's chopped up in about 1,032 pieces. I didn't want to print and glue it all together and trace it that way, so I'm on my monitor doing this all over the place trying to find it. And what I found was I do believe that I think this plug over here is plug number 5, jumper number 5 I think it's called, and it did have a 5 volt tap coming off of it, so I don't know if that fed the entire line. I really didn't pay attention to the other jumpers that were on here to see if I got a different voltage reading out of notated from them. So my next thought was, well, maybe these lights are in series and not parallel, and trying to trace the schematic to confirm that. You know, instead of going from here to there on the schematic, it went from here to Buffalo, Manitoba, dropped down to New Mexico, and then finally made it to its destination. And it does appear that, yes, these are indeed in series. So then my thought was, okay, when the original bulbs were in here but blown, there was no current draw, so I'm getting at least a 10 volt reading. Put the lights in, and I now do have draw, and that's going to be cutting the voltage down by half. So that is probably what's happening here, why my bulbs are not bright enough. So the next thing to do, well, order new bulbs at about 5 volts and see what happens. In my previous clip, I made mention that I purchased, when I purchased this pack of bulbs here, I'd also bought some clear ones, and they still have not come in. However, the rubber caps that I mentioned did come in. And so that's what those look like. That's exciting. So with all that said and done, let me go ahead and pause the video here in real life, but in edit, it'll be the next clip for you. I'll order my new grain of wheat lights, get them installed, and we'll go from there.